Hi, social media is full of organizing tips, color-coded bins, elaborate systems, perfectly labeled pantries. But if you've ever tried those and thought that this doesn't work for me for some reason, you're not alone. I feel the same way. And the truth is, organization is not a one-size-fits-all. There are systems that work that need to match your personality, your habits, and the way your brain just naturally works.
That's why we created a What's Your Organizational Style quiz. It's a quick, fun way to discover the type of system that actually fits your life, not someone else's Pinterest board. You can get the quiz free when you sign up for our newsletter at chasingbrighter.com/newsletter. Welcome back to Chasing Brighter, the podcast created as a guide to living brighter, more connected, and real. And this season, we are choosing real over perfect. Kelly, have you ever bought a beautiful color-coded planner that had everything and you abandoned it in 10 days?
Yes, maybe not 10 days, but yes, I have. I have.
And today we just want to talk about systems that work in real life, not curated life.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we want to talk about why the perfect systems fail. I was just listening to a podcast that said that social media is not perfection, it's performance. And so I thought that was an interesting thought. And,
Yeah.
really like Instagram systems that you see or a lot of social media stuff that you see, I think the way that it maybe gets conveyed versus the way we interpret it isn't always the same. And
Yeah.
in those Instagram or Pinterest systems, they assume that there's consistency. They assume that there's no last minute family emergencies or sick kids. There's
Yeah.
stable moods and everything is great all the time. And there are predictable schedules, which is
Yeah.
not our lives, Jess.
I know. We all know that real life includes hormones, travel, burnout, grief, stress, aging parents.
If your system collapses during stressful times, it's not a supportive system.
Absolutely. And I know we've talked about this so much this month. And today's episode, we just want to talk about meeting yourself where you're at and looking at what is realistic for you and what a real system looks like. And Kelly and I think that real systems are low friction, flexible, forgiving, and absolutely sustainable and repeatable on hard days.
I think real systems need to look like they just go and they
Yeah.
they are adaptable and flexible, like you talked about.
Yeah.
So they need to not be aspirational. They need to be real, right? They need to
Yeah.
meet you where you're at.
We just want to give you a couple examples of what it looks like meeting you where you're at, right? So this is what it can look like in real life. Instead of trying to build systems that are perfect, again, we want to build systems that are repeatable. So instead of a 90-minute morning routine, try a 10-minute anchor habit. Maybe it's coffee, stretching, and reviewing your day. Instead of an elaborate weekly meal plan, pick 3 default dinners that you can rotate when life gets busy. For us, we have frozen tacos, we have frozen pizzas, we always have cheese and tortillas, right? So you have stuff
Yes.
that is ready
Yes.
for you. And instead of
Yes.
trying to reset your entire house every night, try a 15-minute closing shift where everyone tidies a few things before bed. I loved that I saw something a long time ago that had the smart speaker say, get the house ready for bed. And then everyone just took a few minutes to put their things away for the day.
I love that. And the same idea works for work and productivity too. Instead of aiming to have that perfect inbox, maybe just create 2 folders, action and archive. This is definitely an area that I am very fits and starts on with my
Yeah.
inboxes. And, maybe instead of, complicated goal tracking systems that we have, maybe focus on 3 priorities for the week. One of the things that I find that's been working well for me on that is even 3 priorities a given day. And I just grab a sticky. I don't care if I have a planner, I have a phone, I have
Yeah.
all these things, but I just grab a sticky and a couple bullets and it just works and I throw it away. I've moved
Yeah.
on the next day.
Yeah. And, one strategy is just asking yourself, what's the smallest version of this that would still move things forward?
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
it's
thing.
just like we have this elaborate, like, for instance, when maybe you don't do this, but maybe you avoid responding to an email or a text because you think it has to be this elaborate thing. And so maybe it's like,
100%.
what's the smallest version of this? And respond, thanks, let me get back to you tomorrow, right? Or, whatever it is, what would just move things forward, what would be a tiny little step, because small systems are the ones that we actually repeat.
I love that. Another helpful tip is to build systems around what you are already doing. Reading Atomic Habits, the whole idea of habit stacking was just like you said, there's like an anchor habit that you
Mhm.
do, and you kind of like add a couple things around it. So if you already are making coffee every morning, like I do, it's a great place to attach a new habit. Whether it's reviewing a calendar, writing down your priorities for the day, maybe it's even like other things in terms of thinking about what your dinner plan is for the evening so you don't have to stress about it at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. My anchor habit that I don't want to have is making lunch in the morning. I just have one child I have to make lunch for now. And the new habit I've been developing is something for myself. Just some food for myself for the day. So today it was, it's like that small step. I just grabbed a bag of turkey pepperonis to take with me. And yesterday it was a bag of trail mix. But listen, this is my little baby step to creating like a lunch for myself. And so the idea of shopping and planning and making a lunch for myself is too overwhelming right now. But my little baby habit I can do is make sure that I have some protein and some kind of food to keep me energized until I get home.
I love that. One of the things that, in terms of my systems right now, that I find to be working is I am planning 3 meals a week. That's what I initially did, this
Yeah.
whole major like meal prep, meal planning
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And so I just started doing 3 meals a week of planning those three and
Yeah.
seeing where it goes from there. And the other thing I have done is I'm only grocery shopping, Jess, for the week.
Mhm.
I I have a grocery list, and I used to, if I was out of something, I replace it right away. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm really trying to be more like just in time, even in terms of my grocery
Mhm.
shopping. And it is
Yeah.
amazing how it just feels more simple to me. So my
Yeah.
systems for meal plan is just week by week. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking this is on sale. I need to stock up on it for a month from now when I'm going to make X. I quit that.
Yeah.
And just keeping my system very simple in terms of grocery shopping and meal prep.
Because the goal isn't perfect routines, right? It's just
Yeah.
systems that support our real life.
So, any other ideas that you have, Jess?
A couple other examples of systems that I have set in my life that keep things simple, and it totally aligns with what Deanna Moll talked about when you walk in your house or you're just like, oh, right? So I read something, it might have been from Magnolia Home a million years ago, Joanna Gaines. I got her book and it was like, what does it look like right when you walk in the house, and how does it make you feel? So we walk in
Mhm.
our house through the garage. And so I have cubbies right there for the kids to put their shoes and little accessories and stuff. And so the system I have is walk in the house, put your shoes right away. A simple system I have for myself is I set out my clothes the night before. It just makes my life easier. And then I meet with my husband and actually my parents as well, either if that's like a follow up phone call of looking at the schedule for the whole week
We
and
do that
talking
too,
about
yeah.
who's bringing who where. And then we like either my parents are with us on a Sunday or we call them and say, okay, can you pick up this kid on Tuesday, this kid on Thursday, whatever. And so that little weekly meeting.
I love that, yeah. We do the
Yeah.
same thing. I think that's a really great idea. And,
Hmm.
one of the things I wanna add in terms of systems is an energy system check, and we had our episode last week really talking about
Yeah.
energy, and
Hmm.
so this is really about, asking yourself, "What kind of energy do I have today?" Maybe it's in the morning, you talk about that, because not every day is the same, and it's really important to adapt your energy and not punish yourself as a
Yeah.
human.
And In an effort not to overwhelm you, right? This is just a short, simple episode because we believe that choosing real over perfect means building systems that expect you to be human.
Absolutely. This is not optimized, not aesthetic, just human, just you.
Yeah. And if you find you have time on your hands and you love a quiz, and if you haven't taken our organizational quiz yet, this is your sign.
It will help you understand whether you are a visual organizer, a minimalist, a flexible stacker, or someone who just needs a little structure.
And it's free when you sign up for our Thrive Guide newsletter at chasingbrighter.com/newsletter.
Thank you for listening.
If you want to know what we're up to, what we're buying, what we're wearing, follow us on our socials at Chasing Brighter. Have a great day.